Good evening. Welcome to episode 2 of Talking Sports. Thanks for all the positive feedback we've gotten on the first show. We're still working on the name. It might be Inside the Hive or Hornet Sports Buzz or Inside the Nest, as Coach Hall, who is going to be our guest tonight. Coach Hall, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity for the golf team to be here tonight for sure.
So we're going to talk about Mansfield High School golf team. He's joined by 2 captains, both seniors, Jake DeSangro and Mark O'Brien. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's going to be give and take. You know, some of the questions will be for Coach Hall, some will be for Jake and Mark. And I brought a little prop of 7-iron because I watched the movie Tin Cup, and they say you can play with. Is this the best club to pillar with?
This is the easiest club to hit in the bag for sure. Try to get everyone to hit that club as best they can.
That's great. So yeah, we'll walk through. We'll try to cover everything, but let's talk about like the trial process. First of all, it seems like you have 25 kids on the roster. Did everybody make the team? Tell us how the trial process works, like either from a coach or from a player perspective.
So we had about 30 kids try out for the team this year. We kept pretty much everybody. 3 of which are on a practice squad that we have. So on the weekends when we go to the driving range, they are allowed to come and join us, just so we can keep a lot of players in the program. We have a very big sophomore class, and our junior class is fairly strong too. So the more younger guys that we can keep in the program, the better off we're going to be. So I try to keep as many guys around as we possibly can. Unfortunately, just because of numbers, we can't keep everybody, but we try our best to keep everybody involved as best we can for sure.
That's good. And I've looked at some of the numbers in the past. Is it a little bit more, a little bit less than years past, or about the same? Like you've been coach for how many years?
This is my second year as a head coach.
So, as from experience from before in the past couple of years, this has been more players on the team because I remember like sophomore year we didn't have anyone because Jake was the only freshman that played. I didn't end up trying out, but then I tried out sophomore year, and that was only 2 sophomores that ended up playing. So a lot more juniors and junior class this year and sophomore class last year have really come up and played and stuff like that. A lot of guys.
Thanks. And even before tryouts, Jake, how much do you play in the summer or in the spring? I don't know if you do other sports, but...
No, I play lacrosse, but I usually do try to play like almost at least 4 times, 5 times a week. Yeah. I mean, not only do I like want to get better, I also enjoy playing, loving getting out there and just playing, but I also have to balance working too. So but I go and play with my friends like 4 or 5 times a week.
All right. And do you guys belong to clubs in the local area?
Yeah, I'm a member at Norton Country Club and also Walpole Country Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a member at Norton.
Yeah. And my understanding, junior memberships are a little bit better deal.
Yeah, it's much better.
Easier on the parents' wallet, or do you guys pay your own way?
So we kind of like split it like with my family.
Yeah.
It was mostly just kind of them kind of paying and just kind of have me go out there and keep trying to get better and practicing. And it's also a great opportunity to play with your friends.
Yeah.
Meet new people too. You meet a lot of new kids there your age. There's a lot of Norton Country Club, like kids from Norton also golf there, so you meet like other kids that you play in matches too, and you can just pick up and play with a lot of kids.
That's great. So good segue to matches. And Coach, maybe you can walk us through like, people might see the PGA tournament at home, and I think they start with 140-something golfers, and they narrow it down on Saturday and Sunday. But tell us about your matches. How many players are allowed to play, and just talk about the dual meets, if you will.
So every single one of our matches starts out with 8 players. So we take the top 8 players. That can change on a match-to-match basis. Basically what I do is I look at the practice scores and say, okay, who's scoring the best this week? Who's been really good overall the last 3 or 4 practices? If somebody's having a tough couple matches and then they want to come back and practice and do really well, then they'll get back in the match, and we'll just kind of rotate guys through. So basically we take 8 players, and then the top 4 scores from each team count. So if we're playing anybody in the Hockomock, that's how it usually works. So you take your 8 players, top 4 scores count, and then at the end of the match, we add them all up. Both teams have to sign the scorecards. And then how the scoring works is that each player has a scorecard, and then you exchange them with another member of the team. So you keep their score and your score. That way there's no discrepancies on any of the scores. So it's a really good opportunity for the kids. They work really hard. If I go to Norton Country Club on a Tuesday during the summertime, I'll probably bump into 4 or 5 players at the course. Yeah. I mean, everyone's out there playing all the time, and it really makes my job a lot easier because I know that they're working hard, and I know that they want to win. And obviously, our matches this year have been fairly good. Obviously, we can be more consistent, but I think if we can continue to do what we're doing, we've done the last couple matches, we're going to be in really good shape for the rest of the year, for sure.
That's good. So, and you didn't say, but it's obviously like the lowest score wins, so your 4 lowest scores versus 4. And I know just from reading the paper, which is where I get all my knowledge, that and hockeymucksports.com. But if there's a tie after 4 scores, Jake, what do you do? Say it's 164 to 164. What do you do then?
We have a card off and usually take the next person's card or whoever's next on the best score for each team.
Yeah, have you gotten to that point this year?
I've not gone to that this year, but in my previous years we have done that before.
That's good. So everybody, even players 5 through 8, feel like they
oh yeah, no, everything matters, and someone may be playing good at the beginning and could fall apart at the end. So every single one matters.
Yeah, that's good. And your home course, is it Norton? No, sorry.
Yeah, it's Norton Country Club.
That's great. And do you guys always play off the front or the back, or?
We usually play off the front for almost all of our matches. Occasionally practice on the back, depending on what the course needs. And
yeah, if you're like aerating the greens and stuff like that, we usually end up playing the back because it's kind of hard to play off the front.
It's majority the front, though.
Yeah. And does and this is new to me, but like, does the other team just say you're playing Attleboro, and do they get like a half hour to kind of walk the course, or just no? They just have the card and just like a weekend golfer goes out and how does that work for like a visiting team coming to Norton?
So they kind of get the kind of not really much knowledge, but like we as players can assist them if they have questions and stuff like that. We do the best we can to kind of make it as if they can play just like we can and everything like that. So we try to give them the best advantage they can.
Yeah. So Coach Hall is teaching you sportsmanship.
Yes.
That's good. That's good.
We're big into that as a team, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like in other sports, I know soccer and football and everything, there's a referee. So in golf, just like you see on TV, it's the honor system. It's the rules of golf. And is there any like arcane golf rule that you've come across that, like, if you're playing with your friends, you're like, I'm sure you don't because you're trying to get better, but is there any obscure rule that like somebody at home wouldn't know that you've come across in a match, or even anybody?
I was just gonna say, like, for people that don't play golf, I think a big one is the difference between a white stake and a red stake. So if you go off the tee and hit it into a red stake, you're allowed to drop where you hit it. But if you hit it to the white stake, that's out of bounds. So you have to go all the way back to where you originally hit it, which is a big thing. If someone doesn't golf, they don't really know that.
Yeah, I don't play that way.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
One more question about matches. So, you probably usually know who your top 4 are, but do you try to pair up your top 2 against, say, Attleboro or North Attleboro's top 2, or do you like to mix, like if Jake likes to play with Mark, and how do you do that? How do you assign your foursomes?
So that's a great question. A lot of times, depending on how the practices go throughout the week, I'll either assign them or I'll let them choose as who they want to play with. Some players are more comfortable playing with others, and they just kind of mesh differently. And so a lot of times I try to match the players up based on that. Me personally, I like to have kind of our top guys tee off first, just so we kind of have a really good idea of what the match is going to look like before the last group tees off. But again, those last couple groups can always come out and surprise you in 2 or 3 days, and you have a great score. And so, but usually the best players will tee off first, or the ones that have the lowest scores in their matches to that point. But some teams, we faced KP last week, and they had their 1 and 2 in the last group. That's just what they preferred. So
their 1 and 2 might be playing against your 7 and 8.
7 and 8. Yeah, it's honestly it's completely random. But it really all depends on the match and kind of how people are doing in practice, and who meshes well with each other, and who feels like they can help each other out the best. But we seem to have a pretty good grasp on that this year, and things have been working out pretty well for us.
Good. And one more before we get to your records. What about away courses? And I know you're both seniors, so you probably played every course in the Hawk. Talk about like either the hardest to play or your favorite course, and also like the worst to play. Whichever one you want to do, Mark.
So like obviously I like Norton. Norton. It's a great home course and everything. And I have yet to go there, but from what I've heard, Heather Hills is kind of banged up. So.
Yeah.
And who plays at Heather Hill?
North Attleboro plays there.
Okay. Yeah. What about you?
Personally, I think Foxborough Country Club is a hard course. It's just like a lot of it's narrow, which is similar to Norton, which like that's where we have our advantage. Not many players are used to having that narrow golf course, which we get to play that every day, so it's a big advantage. But when you go somewhere else and it's narrow, it's definitely makes a big difference in the scores.
It's good. I had the opportunity to play Foxborough once this summer, and the greens were challenging.
Oh yeah, they have challenging greens.
No flat greens.
Yeah.
You got to be.
Yeah. I think home course advantage in golf is crucial. I think you look at a school like Oliver Ames, they shoot consistently in the 150s, and sometimes they shot a 140 something yesterday. and you see that. I mean, they're playing there every day. It is a par 34, so it's a little bit easier. But when you're constantly playing the same course all the time.
Which course are they at?
They play at Pine Oaks in
Pine
Easton.
Oaks? Okay,
so,
thanks, yeah.
when you're constantly playing a course and know it to the back of your head, I mean, it makes it a lot easier on you. And especially with us at Norton. Norton's a very challenging course. So the fact that we know the course and we have I think we have a huge advantage in that for sure.
So I know other sports because I'm familiar with soccer, where you play the Kelly Rex teams twice and the Davenport once. Does it work that way in golf? Or
so we play the Kelly Rex teams twice,
yeah.
and then it changes every year for who you have to play in the Davenport division.
Okay.
So
you don't want to play all Rams.
Well, they're actually in the Kelly Rex division now for golf.
They moved up
the last couple of years.
In all sports, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you never know who's going to be good on a specific day. Anyone could come out and shoot a 160 or even in the 150s and totally shock you. So really, we come out and we try to play our A game every match because there's no gimme matches anymore. Everybody's competitive, so. Yeah, we try to play everybody in the small division once. Sometimes teams they don't want to play you because they have like non-league matches that they scheduled. So, and this year we're really running into an issue with rain. We've had a ton of rainouts this year, so trying to schedule all of our matches is very difficult. So I think we were talking about earlier. I think we only have like 3 practices as a team left, and we have like 3 or 4 weeks left in the season. So it can be a little bit tough if you're adding more matches to when you don't necessarily have to. So we definitely have to keep an eye on that for sure.
Yeah, it makes Joe Russo and Don Harrington's job.
Oh yeah,
tougher.
they're great though. They put a lot of trust in us to take care of that stuff, but they do a great job.
But you talked about the rainouts before we did the show, and both kids are like disappointed. But in some sports, they're like, I don't want to practice. But you could tell these 2 gentlemen like to practice, which is a good thing.
For sure,
yeah.
We'll talk a little bit practice a little bit later. But so tell me if I'm wrong. It's September 25th. You got rained out today. Your record's 3-2 overall.
Correct.
Yeah. And within the Hawk, what's your record within the Hawk? Do you know that?
So we're 3-2 in the Hawk and Mock too.
Yeah.
We haven't played any non-league matches yet. Our first one is actually on Friday against Norton.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're doing pretty well. One of the things that we talked about a little in practice is just that consistency factor. We have the ability to shoot. I think our best match has been a 158, and I believe deep down inside, I think the players believe it too, that we have the ability to shoot that every match. It's just being consistent, and I think from my side of things, I think one of the biggest things about golf is that mental aspect of it. Kind of. Instead of trying to go for a birdie every time, right? Let's hit the middle of the green. Let's 2-putt for par. If we par every hole, everyone shoots a 35 or 36. We're going to win every match. Yeah. So we've been working on a lot about the mental aspect of it and kind of what to do in different situations. I know the players have been working on some things. And what do you both think some of the things that we could do? Maybe
I think a lot of it is just like at practice, like focusing, like everything. You got to really look at those putts. Putting is like a big thing. Like small as it may be, like it changes the game. It can change you from like 3 strokes, which is huge in golf, and definitely can win you the match.
Yeah, along the lines of focusing and stuff like that, really kind of getting your swing down in practice and stuff like that, trying to make sure you hit the fairways, make sure you keep everything in play on like a difficult course like Norton. Keeping the ball in play and keeping those strokes off the cart are like really, really important.
Yeah,
sure.
That's great.
Sure.
That's some really good knowledge here. Now, so I know in a lot of sports like soccer, football, lacrosse, to get to the tournament, we'll talk about the Hawk beat, but you have to have above a 500 record. Does it work that way in golf, or is it a little bit different?
It works the same way. So basically, we have our Hawk Championship meet, which is on I believe the 18th this year. So we have that first, and whoever wins that match is considered the Hawk champion. And then we have self-sectional semifinals, I believe, that the next week. And you take 6 players to that, and then you just keep advancing from there based on the scores of the team. So,
okay. So, and where is the Hawk Championship going to be?
It's at Blue Hill Country Club
Blue
this
Hill
year.
Country Club.
Yeah.
One question I didn't ask, which my kids never played golf, but can parents go? Because you know how parents are a little bit nutty when their kids are in youth sports and they get to high school and they don't go. But do parents go to these?
Yeah,
matches?
no, parents go. A lot of parents fall around in the cart or some walk, just
Yeah.
depending on just watch. Yeah.
So honestly, would you rather have them not there, or do you like having them there?
I don't mind. It depends.
that's
They
good.
try to make it when they can make it, and if they can't, they can't. It's not like a big deal, but.
And the Hawk Championship, is that 18 holes?
It is.
That's
Yep,
good.
It's 18 holes. For sure.
So I know Jason Hyman, I think 2 years ago, he did very well in the South Sectional, but he might have won it. I don't know if that was before your time.
It was the year before I got there.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, he was very, very good golfer.
player.
Yeah. Let's, if we could, we'll just segue into individuals. This show is really focused on team sports, but Coach, if you could talk about who's who's got the lowest scoring average so far? I mean, not to leave kids out, but who's having a good season so far?
So I think our number one scorer this year is Ryan Dow. He's a sophomore. His average is like between a 38 and a 39 in matches, which is right amongst the top in the Hockomock League. And then we have pretty much everybody else is right in that 40 to 42 range. So we've been having a really good season. One of the things that I really preached last year, and I think I continue to say that this year, is that we just have to make ourselves better every day in practice. And these kids every day in practice, they're competing. They want to win. And I know I mentioned it to you before. Every single time I go to Norton Country Club to play around myself, I'll bump into 5 or 6 players at any hour of the day. And to me, that makes my life a lot easier because I know they're out there working hard. I know that they want it. I know that they want to win. We've had 3 or 4 kids in the last 2 years quit their fall sports to join the golf team, and they've been significant contributors.
Yeah,
that's great.
And in my opinion, that's crucial. So I think I tip my cap to all the players. As a coach, there's only so much you can do, and a lot of it relies on the players. And this group that we have this year has been nothing short of phenomenal. So I have nothing but great things to say about all of them.
That's great. And we didn't talk, I don't think, earlier, but you also coach the baseball team. Are you the assistant varsity coach?
I'm the assistant varsity coach of the baseball team.
And I don't know your style at all, but I'm assuming maybe in baseball there's a little more yelling involved sometimes. But in golf, and I think in golf, yelling is not really part of your.
Not at all.
No, I mean it's only negative, right? I mean.
Yeah, for sure. I think the hardest part about golf is honestly keeping your composure when you're having a tough day.
Yeah. Everybody does, right?
Right. I don't think I've ever met a person that goes on a golf course and is just smiling the entire time. You know what I mean? It's hard.
Maybe afterwards.
Yeah.
We can't talk about that.
Yeah. So we I really one of my biggest stresses that I tell the team is that we have to maintain composure at all times. And so far this year, we've done an excellent job of that. I always say I'd rather be the team that doesn't win every match, but every coach comes up to me after the match says, "Listen, you guys you coach a bunch of great kids. They work hard. They show respect on the course. They fix their divots, all that stuff." Than to be the team that wins a ton of matches and nobody likes. And I think that having a negative attitude in golf just spirals downhill. I know we talk about it.
Definitely changes the whole game.
I think we talk about it, pretty much every practice. Like, all right, you had one bad hole. One bad hole is not going to ruin your round. Just on to the next hole.
You gotta
reset.
start focusing, refocus. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Because once you get in that negative attitude, it affects every single shot after that.
So a couple good more questions, Coach. Like, what's your role during the matches? Like, obviously, there's, if I did the math, there's 8 kids. That's is there 4 foursomes going out at once?
Yeah.
So are you out there? Are you allowed to say anything? Like, keep your head down.
Yeah. So it's actually funny.
That's all I know.
Golf, and that's the hard part about golf. Is it's one of the few sports where you can't really coach your players during a match.
Yeah.
I can talk to the players between the green and the tee box. So that whoever, depending on the hole, however long that is, I can talk to them. I don't like to give them a lot of technique in the middle of a match. That I feel like it just causes them to start thinking more. And in reality, you want to stay relaxed and just play your game. And I think that's kind of what's most important. I really focus on the mental aspect of it quite a bit. So if they're, having a tough hole and I can tell if their body language is poor and, they're struggling a little bit, I'll try to pick them up a little bit and be like, listen, on to the next hole. That hole's done. There's nothing you can do about it now. Let's move on. And a lot of times it works. I think the biggest thing with Norton Country Club on the front 9 is that the first 5 holes are incredibly difficult, and then the last 4 holes are very reasonable holes that you can score well on. So I think if I see kids getting frustrated on those first 5 holes, I say, listen, guys, the next 4 holes coming up, you can score really well on. And a lot of times that changes their attitude quite a bit, and they end up doing really well. So that's what I do as a coach during the matches. Some other schools, if we go to travel for a away match, I'll play with the coaches after the group tee off because
that's great.
It's a lot of fun. So it just kind of depends on the match. But typically, I like to drive around because I like to know. I kind of I don't like being on the edge all the time. I like to kind of know how people are doing. And
matches,
for sure,
close.
For sure. And
what about as captains? I think you said you haven't been in too many matches at Mark, but I would think in practice and you go when the team travels, you're usually sometimes at the matches, right? Yeah. What do you see your role as a captain, like being a senior and having been on the team for 3 years?
So really is kind of really uplift the guys. If kind of what Coach Hall was saying, like if players aren't doing well, just try to be a positive influence on them, kind of make sure that everyone's kind of picking up a little bit, be like, all right, it's all right, don't worry about that, and kind of encourage them to keep trying, keep doing better. You know?
What about you, Jay?
Yeah, I think that's the really good thing about playing with someone you're friends with, or if Coach whatever, it makes a big difference. Like you get a bad shot, someone you play with all the time, just like he's like, you know what, let's just go. You keep going, keep moving forward, next hole, and it just makes a big difference to try to really bring people up. Yeah.
What about just say you're having a really tough match against another opponent? Do you ever you don't play mind games with the opponent? Do you?
No.
Like no talking in the backswing.
No.
See, that's why I didn't make the golf team. So, I think we could talk about this all day. I've learned quite a bit. Talked about the state tournament, about practices. Parents can wear the home course. Did you tell me what's your worst course that you just hate playing? Somebody told me Stony Lee's. I don't want to get in. It's not a good course. I'm just curious. You don't have to say anything bad.
Yeah, no, I think like I said, every course is different. I think we have the luxury of playing at one of the nicer courses as far as landscape goes in Norton. They do a really good job with it. They keep it really clean and tidy. I know I'm not a player, but I think one of the courses that I know I dread going to is Oliver Ames every year, Pine Oaks. I know it's a very funky course, and Oliver Ames always seems to have every single golfer that's really, really good in the state of Massachusetts. So it's you go in there and you're already a little bit intimidated originally, but I think it's such a funky course, and the layout's tough, and you try to be aggressive, and then your next shot is in the woods, and it's just a very difficult course from what I understand.
It just plays odd in general. It just seems
odd,
just different than other courses. Yeah.
I don't know if you have a different opinion on what course you don't like going to.
No, I agree with that. And then, just like they seem to play there every day, so they're really good at it, which makes a big difference. So,
But I'm sure on the flip side, a lot of schools don't like coming to Norton because we have that down to down packed too. So, I think.
Do you have a choice if you know a team is better at a tighter course? You're like, oh, maybe we'll play the back nine today, or not really?
So that's actually a great point that you bring up. When you have a female golfer on your team, they get to play from a tee box ahead of where the guys play.
Is it Ava Haggis?
Ava Haggis, yeah. So Ava is
a sophomore.
Yep, she's a sophomore this year. So a lot of times, if we're playing a team that doesn't have any female golfers, we'll play from the blues because it gives us a little bit of an advantage. So, but then if they don't have a girl on the team, we play from the whites. It gives us an advantage, so Ava can play from the reds. But if they do have a girl on their team, we'll move back to the blues.
Okay.
And that way, their female golfer will have to hit from the whites instead of getting that significant advantage from the red tees. So,
that's interesting.
So it just kind of depends on the match. But for the most part, we try to keep it consistent. We try to play from the whites as much as we can. But there definitely is some strategy. I know some other teams definitely move the tee boxes around depending on the opponents because they might know, this kid hits the ball 350 yards off the tee. So
and their course lets them do that within the rules of the game.
Yeah, it is.
Remind me, so girls are allowed to play on the team, or they're not allowed to. It's a co-ed team. And remind me about the state meet last year. I believe in the fall, a girl won the individual title, and there was controversy. She was not given the crown. Do you know about that, Coach? Can you explain that?
So the girls' tournament actually takes place in the springtime, I believe, because they have like a separate tournament then. So a girl can't technically win self-sectionals for the in the fall match, so they can re-enter in the springtime and play then. There was definitely a controversy with the last year because one of them did really well. I think it was an individual that could move on, but they wouldn't allow her to advance because of because she was a female. So, but they do have a separate girls tournament in the springtime that they can play in if they choose to. So.
And my understanding was the kid who came in second gave her the trophy of the medal.
Yeah, I mean,
It reminds me, in the individual match, I always see in the paper, Jake DeSanger was the medalist. Hopefully that'll happen someday. No, just kidding. But do you actually get a medal?
No,
I didn't think so. And it's one overall. It's not, Mansfield gets one and the opponent gets one. It's called the medalist, the low score. Okay.
Exactly.
I was allowed to ask one stupid question.
No such thing as a stupid question.
But that's all I have. Is there anything else, Coach? Just one thing, like in Mansfield, you said there's 25 kids. I know, Mansfield's been a football town. Now it's a basketball town and a baseball town, and it's the soccer town, and it's a lacrosse town. So do you actively, being a teacher in the school, do you actively recruit? It's like it's kids that want to play, or how do you go about that?
No, that's a great question. I think it just depends on the athlete. I think that the one great thing about Mansfield is that the athletics programs are so strong here all around. I think we had maybe 2 teams that did make the tournament last year in all 4 seasons, or all 3 seasons actually, all 4 terms. And it's just overall, it's been a very successful place to be. And I think that's why people like Mansfield so much, because they can have a team to root for. And like I said, it makes the coaches' jobs a lot easier because we don't have to go out and recruit all these players to play for our teams because they want to be there. They want to enjoy the sports. They want to be a part of a team, And I think as much as we'd like to recruit a ton of players as much as we can. We don't really necessarily have to because the numbers are there. I know if like a player is toying between, oh, you know, should I play this sport, should I play that sport? Of course I'm going to say, listen, you know, come and play this for X, Y, and Z reasons. But in reality, I don't have to go out and be like, listen, I only have 8 guys trying out for the team this year. I need 4 or 5 more to have a really strong team. Because you know, we have 30 players and only 8 of them can play in every match. So you look at it, that's like close to 3/4 of the team is not even playing at all. You know, so it's certainly one of the benefits of being in Mansfield. You know, I coached in Foxborough beforehand, and again, they have some really, really good sports teams, but I think it's just the population of some of the towns around us isn't as big, so it makes it a lot more difficult for them to recruit players, where as being in Mansfield, we have the luxury of having such a high population that we can have great sports teams without having to recruit. So it definitely makes our jobs quite a bit easier, for sure.
That's great. And final question for you two boys. Young men, you're going on to college next year. Any plans to play golf? I know nowadays it's so hard to play any sport at the college level, but club or varsity level?
I definitely like to look at either club or something, but I'm definitely not making my college decision off that. But depending on what school I want to go to, maybe I'll try out, see what their club team is, because I definitely do want to play golf for the rest of my life. I mean, something I can do for the rest of my life, so why not? Yeah. I enjoy it.
Where are you going to take your talents, like LeBron James? Where are you going to take your talents
Los
next
Angeles?
year?
Well, I got a couple of schools that I'm in mind, like
Yeah.
Quinnipiac, Bryant, Merrimack, all really good schools, all really what I'm looking to do. And on the lines of playing golf, you know, I want to play golf for the rest of my life and stuff like that.
That's good.
And if they have a recreational team or like a club team, maybe I'll try a shot at that, you know.
Or you could start one. You know?
Yeah, you could do
Depending
that
where
too.
you go.
Yeah, in a real team, for sure.
That's good.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about golf is that you can get better as you get older,
Yeah.
you know, and you can constantly improve. And it's one of those games where, you know, you can just go out with your friends and have a good time and enjoy it, you know. It's like, it's hard to come up with like a pickup football game after you're in high school, you know.
Yeah.
But you can go out and play golf whenever
Yeah.
you want, and you can be competitive with it, you can play in tournaments. So it's just such a great game to be around, you know. Even if you're not a very good golfer, you know, it's just so fun to go out there and have a good time and enjoy yourself for 4.5 hours and just be with your friends. It's a great sport to do, so.
That's great.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for
tonight.
having us. We really
Episode 2.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Anytime.
Mark, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Very much. Just before we sign off, last week's trivia question, which these kids, I don't know if they watch the show, but it was like, which 2 sports at Mansfield High School do the lowest score count for a winning team? So obviously one of them is golf, and the other one is?
Is it swimming?
I would say volleyball, but I don't know.
Cross country.
Cross country.
And before we sign off, this week's trivia question is, this is a tough one. You know, I did some legwork. In volleyball, there's one player that you're allowed to freely substitute. You don't have to follow the normal substitution patterns. Coach, you're looking at me. Do you know what the answer is?
I think I actually do know this one.
Okay, we'll hold off then
Right.
to the audience knows. So it's in volleyball, what position you're not allowed to, you don't have to follow the substitution patterns. And they're usually a defensive specialist. That's the hint. But so anyways, thanks for tuning in. Again, we've got to keep the ratings high. Sports Buzz when you see us around town. And again, thanks guys, and good luck this season.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.